Figuring this out.
One step at a time. But welcome to the Land Show,
The Yamcast.
the Yamcast, the Cam Yast. Oh, fuck. I lost the chat. Oh no! Hello. There we go. How did I do that? No,
I'm trying to remember how I had this. Oh, I got it. I got it all figured out.
I'll just have to go back and forth. We have wasted enough time. And by we, I mean me. So today we have tons of fun things to talk about. I guess for introductions first, just so everybody is aware who we are. My name is Mark. I work as a computer engineer. Worked as a computer engineer for the past 5 years. I also am an artist and just an all-around tinkerer.
Oh, you're waiting for me.
I am waiting for you.
Sorry, I'm fixing my things.
How dare you fix your things?
I'm Yanni. Actually, pretty similar. I enjoy working with technology. I'm a computer technician. We enjoy 3D printing. I like doing small engine repair. We do a bunch of other side projects and stuff with our spare time. We can probably talk about your lawnmower debacle a little bit.
You just go to the very bottom. In
one
projects I put, I said mower go vroom.
Mower go vroom.
Mower go vroom.
Yeah.
Mower fix, mower boom. Mower go vroom.
Mower fix, mower go.
Oh no, I'm downloading Discord updates. I just want to share the stream.
Hey, we got DB What Ifs in chat.
How's it going?
I'm seeing hearts flying there.
So today we got a lot of fun topics for you. First of all, is of course the Switch 2 was announced, and then we get to talk about all the fun and the outrage in regards to that. And then the outrage on our ends leads into our second topic, which is tariffs. Tariffs are always fun. Everybody loves tariffs.
Good old USA.
Nobody has a problem with tariffs, right?
I ain't got a problem.
All right.
We're paying back into our country. That's the idea.
As you can tell, Yanni is rich. And we'll talk about getting a nuke in your back pocket, and Microsoft telling everybody that Windows 10 PCs should be recycled. So, I guess, do you want to do the first topic?
Yeah, sure. On to the first topic. Switch 2. See, now I'm getting ideas of how I should have starting talking points here.
What do you mean?
To kind of follow off with instead of improvising here.
Like having actual sentences?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I was telling you earlier this week, that's just how my brain works.
This
I have to
this actually works out pretty well. Nintendo announced the Switch 2 on Wednesday, April the 2nd, and was met with some controversy. The Switch price started for $449 USD for pre-order, and that was going to be the initial MSRP for the Nintendo Switch in the United States. But after recent tariffs had been posted, we are now currently pending. Pre-orders were to go live on April 9th, and currently we are on a pause as we assume Nintendo is going to be readjusting the price to match with the tariffs. I believe I have a chart here, not to get too off topic with the Switch, but we are looking at a discounted reciprocal tariff, currently at 24%, which I believe may put if it follows correctly, the base model price of the Switch may go from $449 to, I think it was $629 has been the rumor.
But additionally, you also have to think about what the packaging is, because the packaging apparently moved to Vietnam after the last round of tariffs that came into place the last time this administration was in power.
And if we're looking at Vietnam, they also have a 46% reciprocal tariff.
And the other thing is, I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves, but the other thing is tariffs, or the price of goods are not directly increased by the amount of tariff on the country. So, in this instance, let's use China as the example. The U.S. put a reciprocal tariff on China as of the time of preparing this topic, because I believe it's now risen at 34%. So that doesn't mean the item you're buying is going to be 34% more expensive. That just means the company's cost to get the item into our country is going to be higher. So theoretically, it could be 60 to 100% higher. I know that's 60 to 100% higher. I know that's kind of like blowing it out of proportion, because I don't think any company's actually going to make something 100% more expensive.
Right.
But just as a overblown idea, that's kind of how that would end up working out.
And I guess looking into it, I guess you got to ask, is Nintendo already selling the Switch 2 at a loss? It's a lot of hardware, a lot of changes, a lot of development went into this. Are they banking on Switch Online memberships and I guess taking not just the Amazon approach, but it's probably one of the best examples, considering their Fire tablets are dirt cheap in comparison
Yeah, dude.
to, say, like what Lenovo Android tablets would be. But they generally bank on their customers getting Prime, getting sales through Amazon, probably going through, what is it, Kindle, I believe is run by Amazon.
Yes, Amazon owns Kindle. Yep.
So, getting a Fire tablet, you can also get books through Kindle.
The online membership for the Switch 1 was cheap for the Switch 1, but if enough people get it, I can see that.
And, the online membership so far as of right now, it's not changing.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it's the same price.
Probably one of the best things is it's $20 a year. Definitely one of the better ongoing memberships. They have the Switch Online Plus expansion pack now, which they've had. That's $49 a year. That price thankfully hasn't changed either, and they're also going to be adding, that's kind of where you get all the retro console emulators through the Switch. But now in the Switch 2's hardware, natively emulated, we'll be having GameCube introduced. And just a couple titles that I remember being Super Mario Sunshine, we had Luigi's Mansion, Wind Waker,
Which is...
and Chibi Robo Plug-Into Adventure was one of my
Chibi
favorites.
Robo!
I was really excited about that. I know they announced Kirby Air Riders, so I don't know if Kirby Air Ride will be brought in. But there is a lot of potential with Kirby Air Ride being, I guess, made online multiplayer. That would be phenomenal for the community, and I think that'd be a genius way to bring in a lot more, I guess, original players to their subscription game. Because you got me sold on Switch Plus expansion. I guess the only controversial thing I have, the only issue I really have with all the Switch Online stuff would be saving things online, like your save data.
Is that accurate? DB What Ifs, Smash Bros. Melee, Soul Calibur 2, Simpsons Hit and Run. I assume that's
Smash Bros. Melee. That'd be phenomenal if they did a little bit of rework to it.
What was it called again?
The GameCube emulation. Are you talking about the Switch Online Plus expansion?
To GameCube.
I'm gonna look into that, but
yeah, Soul Calibur 2. Oh god, this website's taking forever to load.
It's for games at launch.
Soul Calibur 2. Sunshine.
Good old Sunshine.
Fire Emblem Path of Radiance.
Yep.
Pokemon XD.
Oh yeah, XD Gale of Darkness and Pokemon Coliseum.
Mario Strikers, dude.
Is phenomenal. I forgot about that.
Luigi's Mansion.
Which I've actually never played.
Pokemon Coliseum.
Yeah. Chibi Robo plug-in to adventure.
Chibi Robo.
One of the best
Is
ones.
that it? That's all this article says, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Wind Waker as well.
Yep, Wind Waker.
F-Zero GX is the only other one I missed. Dude, on Soul Calibur 2, I sucked at it, but I loved it.
I never played it. Yeah.
I mean, it's just buff dudes with swords. Like, that's kind of all it came down to.
Sweet.
Melee
would be
Simpsons
amazing.
Hit and Run and Smash Bros. Melee, those would both
They bring
be
Melee
amazing.
and it's going to bring tournaments up to a whole new level.
I gotta say, I know I'm kind of again skipping ahead towards the end of the topic, but before the tariffs, I don't think the price was bad. Like, I know a lot of people were upset about the price, but like, I feel like given the leap that we're getting, and given the fact that Nintendo 100% lost money on their previous console, the Nintendo Switch current generation, I think it's totally fair for them to charge $449. I don't. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Lovely
See you later.
seeing you. I don't. I also, again, I have a weird opinion.
Right.
Because
Hot
everybody
take.
else is pissed.
Hot take.
But I don't think charging $80 for a game is also unfair. Because, again, game prices haven't risen in the last 30 years?
And you got to remember
It's been 30 years?
Back in 2006, 2007, GameCube held stable at $49 with their games.
That's right. That's right.
I think they held stable the longest. Even DS games, some of them bringing, I think, like $40 even, 30 and $40.
And see, I don't, like, yes, it's annoying. It's absolutely annoying. But I don't find it,
What was the original Switch's launch price?
$299, I think. But I don't find it terrible. I find the $80 more annoying than I do the price of the Switch, to be honest.
Yeah, $299.
But even still.
So it's a price difference of $150. You're not even talking about doubled. Currently,
Right.
it's going to go up, but that's
Yeah, it's going to go because of tariffs.
That's due to circumstances that's going to be out of our control.
And out of Nintendo's control.
But you're talking about, what is that now, 8 years. 8 years later, about $150 more, we get probably 4 times the performance. And we'll do like 4 times the performance given generated frames.
Yeah, I forgot about it.
You're talking about...
Did they confirm it's generated frames?
Nothing confirmed yet.
But basically.
We're assuming so. It's a very tiny handheld.
While you're talking,
that's where a lot of it's kind of going.
While you're talking, I'm going to share the link more. So I promise I'm paying attention.
Yeah, you're all good. Let's see. We have an extra Type-C port. We have better speakers. We have an integrated microphone. We have compatibility with external devices like cameras. There's a lot going for it. I don't know if I added anything else to my list here talking about it. Not really. But it's a lot of faster storage. Literally 8 times the storage, going from 32 gigs internal up to 256 gigs.
Which is also awesome.
And it seems like working directly with SanDisk to market microSD Express, which I was actually left out on the loop on.
Lord Joe. Oops.
I did not realize that microSD Express was actually a thing.
I'm surprised you didn't know, but it makes sense because the only reason I knew is because me and I won't say names, but former coworker at Best Buy who's actually moving closer. I remember to tell you about that.
Mm-hmm.
He and I used to do a lot of filming.
Okay.
Not a lot, but we were film heads.
Right.
And we would want to go out and make a short film at some point. And he was the one who actually taught me the difference between the different levels
right.
of SD cards. And he was like, this is the fastest one. And it was like fucking like leagues and bounds more expensive than
that's probably micro SD Express.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
but it's the only one that can properly accept 4K footage that quickly on like the mirrorless cameras and stuff
Right.
like that. So it was very very crazy learning that about such a minuscule product.
And to put into comparison, you have your standard SD cards, which on the high end of things, I believe can write up to like 130 megabytes a second. You're talking about not Lexmark, Lexar. Always get those.
Nah,
two
you know it
confused.
wants to be Lexar.
Lexar 1 terabyte micro SD card, but that's right. So we have about 130 megabytes a second on like your high-end micro SD cards, and then you have Express. We get to the high end. I believe it can write up to, is it 500 or 600 megabytes a second?
I'm actually not sure about the actual speeds.
And you're talking faster than SATA solid state speeds. From a small little interface card. Yeah, with read speeds of up to 900 megs a second. And write speeds up to 600 megs a second, which is crazy. So, I mean, considering all of that, you can't say Nintendo skimped out on the specs. They are, considering they're just Nintendo games, for the most part. But the other titles coming to Switch, to I believe even Elden Ring.
Yeah, dude. The fact that Elden Ring's coming too.
It's a lot of hardware for $449. A lot of people have been arguing about they've been comparing it with the Steam Deck,
Which I think is like an apples to oranges type of comparison. Because you have a very thin and light device
right?
against a PC gaming. A powerhouse might be a stretch of the word, but a heavy hitter in PC gaming. I don't think that Oh.
Why did you see that pop
Yeah, I
up?
saw that. I was like, what happened?
That's me.
I was gonna say I should be the one seeing chat errors.
Yeah, we're still connected. We're good.
But PC gaming, or Steam Deck, has a library of, I guess, millions of games, or at least hundreds of thousands of games.
And you're also talking about like emulation versus like native hardware.
Right.
It's the whole reason why I never continued emulating any of my Zelda runs or anything through my desktop at home. It ran great, but it ran great when it ran.
Right. There were a lot of issues.
A lot of issues. Controls didn't quite feel right. A little bit of latency. It just felt. It is very much emulated. It's not very stable. You get really far. You have chances for your saves to corrupt.
Yep.
Like, oh, you can roll back your saves, but then it's only a matter of time. It's, where did the corruption start? I'm just happy to see it on native hardware.
Yes.
What I'm banking on is I'm hoping like Scarlet and Violet. My chat just completely disconnected. That's fine.
Oh, that's fun.
We got your chat.
I
That's
still
more
got
reliable. We got Windows and Mac, so right now the Mac's hanging in there.
At some point, I want to hook up the desktop back there to be our stream PC.
That'd be pretty rock.
This is just because like we spent a total of 15 minutes setting this up,
Yeah.
both last week and this week.
It's a very shotgunned approach.
Very.
Completely lost my train of thought, but
Sorry.
oh yeah, no, that's right. What I'm really hoping for out of the hardware is that the existing games. I know Nintendo has this whole thing with with compatible games. I believe is how they were pitching it. You'll get up to these frame rates with compatible games. I'm hoping just to get the locked 30 FPS that the game was meant to run at.
Yeah. I would hope. So, I'm glad you brought that up. Because I think it is silly for them to So let's say, I'm trying to think of the game now. What's that game, Arms? Let's use that game Arms as an example. The Switch 2, the original Switch, essentially the tech demo. No, I guess the tech demo was 1-2 Switch. Let's say I take that game, a game that hasn't been supported, essentially, since the beginning of the Switch's life.
Right.
Let's say I want to play that on my Switch 2. I think it would be silly that the game wouldn't run at 60 FPS.
Mm-hmm.
Considering the hardware changes that have taken place since.
Right.
I just realized my PC might be doing updates, and that could be a part of our problems right now. Load up Steam for me. Preferably hidden if possible. Nope. Downloads are good.
It's got them queued up, but not for tonight. Windows update is
Windows
yellow,
hasn't updated.
and it's just pending a restart.
Huh. Then I wonder why you're having such problems.
My system is struggling. Let me close out of Steam.
Or maybe you have updates then.
Yeah, maybe my system's doing updates. Can you imagine? Watch us immediately start working better.
We haven't dropped any frames. Actually, that's a lie. We have dropped frames.
Have we?
But it's only 3% of them.
Just a teensy bit.
So not bad.
We'll wait for that to catch back up.
Let's see.
Oh. Yeah, my Twitch is totally up. Your laptop's hogging all the bandwidth?
I mean, it could be. I mean, I stopped actually streaming, though. It still says we're good. Our bitrate's good. Huh. Well, I guess we'll just continue.
We'll keep rolling with it. I just don't have chat.
We'll just hope for the best. Haven't had anybody in Twitch chat anyway, so not much we can do about that. But, yeah, like, it would be crazy if they didn't upgrade the performance.
Right.
For Switch 1 games. At least allow it to be upgraded. Like, if it gets pinned at 30 FPS, whatever.
Right.
But, like, it should, in my opinion, just, I don't know, just let it be upgraded. Like, run at 60 FPS. Let me run the game that couldn't run on original gen hardware properly.
Yeah. Like, because with a lot of Nintendo games is the clock, I think, is synced with the frame rate.
Yes.
If that's the correct way to phrase it. The like, if you're getting lower frame rates, your game is effectively running slower.
Mm-hmm.
And collectively, the amount of time that adds to a game, like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where you're like getting a consistent like 22, 23 frames, it collectively kills like hours of your time just because it's running that much slower. You're talking almost a third slower. That's a lot. That's really, really, really slow for a game to be running. And as someone that doesn't get too much time to game nowadays, when you're playing the game and you can kind of feel it dragging, it's not very appealing. I completed one run, and I wanted to go through and hit it a second time. I don't remember exactly what it was through Scarlet or Violet. But you could go around a second time, and I think all the gym leaders were harder and everything like that. And I was looking forward to doing that. But, man, the performance was just not there. It is a very restricted kind of flow. So I'm hoping that it can pull that up. It can hold stable. I don't like that we have to pay for the Plus, the Switch 2 version of the game.
You just came back online on the Google Doc.
That's hilarious. I didn't even know I was completely kicked off from it.
Yeah, the paying of the upgraded version is a little silly.
Yeah, paying for the upgraded, and it might vary game to game. I can't say I necessarily agree with that.
No.
Considering that the game carts are going to be more expensive. The physical carts are now going to be more expensive.
If they weren't already. But
back to the initial, at $449, I would say Nintendo's selling the console at a loss, to be honest. And I guess the big consideration here is looking at the tariffs. I think if they weren't selling the console at a loss now, they may have to if they want to sell in the United States.
Absolutely.
I think on the great end of things, on the low end of things, the console kicks up to $499.
I think
that'd be a stretch, but it'd be amazing if they bit the bullet and
$499 and then $450 for the bundle,
or $550. Yeah.
$550. Sorry, $550 for the bundle.
But I think that would be the smarter move.
Melon.
For a long time run, I would have seen Melon.
Yeah, he doesn't have his chat right now. But how's it going, Melon?
Right now.
You might get your chat now, so you
reconnect connection. Oh, back online.
Oh,
I guess we're trying to reconnect.
It's IP config. Okay. NUKElear IP. Come on.
You want me to?
Flush DNS. Actually, don't flush DNS. Well, no, flush DNS shouldn't affect the router. It should just affect your DNS, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be mine.
Yeah.
My shortcuts aren't working.
Your computer's going stupid. Well, while he's flushing his DNS, I guess I'll continue. I don't remember if you brought this up already, but the two Joy-Cons are can be magnetically removed, and each can be used as a mouse. But damn, we should just remove the Switch's battery. Listen, Melon, if you stay for the whole thing, you'll understand why we're going to put a NUKElear battery inside of our Switch too.
You want a Tony Stark reactor running your Switch?
I mean, that's basically what's about to happen. But the two Joy-Cons can be magnetically detached, and apparently the magnets are super strong.
Phenomenal.
So they can be magnetically detached, and they can be used individually as mice, which I like the idea of.
Yeah, I think that's going to go pretty well.
It'd be because the previous Switch controllers can be Bluetoothed to a Windows computer.
Okay.
So what I thought was, well, I'll have my Steam Deck on one hand,
right,
and then my controller in the other hand, and I can play an FPS.
100%.
And not have to use stupid ass joysticks.
Yeah.
The improper way to play an FPS. The same thing with like a laptop. You know, when we go on vacation later this year, bring your laptop and then just switch to controller right there. So you have your games for your Switch, but then you also have a superior input method for more twitchy and more accuracy based games. Which I think is pretty cool if they maintain the Bluetooth functionality that they had on the original Switch Joy-Cons. So, but yeah, so all of this sounds great until we start talking about the tariffs. Because the same day that the Switch 2 was announced, later that day, President Trump announced his reciprocal tariffs. I believe he called it on, what was it, the Day of Independence or something like that. Like he gave it some buzzword.
Not too necessarily sure. Yeah.
But essentially, he announced reciprocal tariffs against a whole host of countries. There are a few countries who are conveniently missing, such as Mexico and Canada, but it's currently rumored that they're going to get their own special tariffs. But these are just the large ones. The big ones that I want to point out, based off of this chart that you found, is China, obviously.
They may be very different now.
Yes.
We know China was just inflicted with another much higher tariff on top.
Because China gave their own tariff. God, you gotta love a trade war.
Yeah. This is getting brutal.
But
to be honest, China's probably the worst one for us, anyways, to have that with.
For America,
considering, can we slow it down a little bit? We're not manufacturing our stuff yet.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, can we pump the brakes on that just a tiny bit? Give us one more year here.
We're gonna get actually fucked.
Yeah,
really bad.
This is gonna be pretty brutal.
But so China is the biggest one. Obviously, we get what feels like 90% of our product comes from China in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
that's probably definitely not accurate. But it's close enough. Then Vietnam, like I talked about with the Switch 2 topic, a lot of companies switched their packaging away from China to Vietnam to try and avoid the previous tariffs that Trump and his administration attempted to put in a previous. Now I got disconnected from chat.
Ooh,
now you got the chat.
I don't know if I ever got my chat back.
Yeah, you did. There you go. What did Melon say? Melon said, "What is that?"
I guess I'm the chat czar.
You're the chat czar.
Pop out chat. Let's see if it loads.
I wonder, you're you're not even watching it live. Why did I lose?
I just paused it.
I paused mine.
Yeah.
Oh well. It doesn't matter.
All right, I guess we're trading priority here.
I guess so. But yeah, a lot of manufacturers, I believe Apple also switched their packaging to Taiwanese companies. Or not Taiwanese, Vietnamese companies. So that way they could avoid previous price hikes and previous tariffs that were attempted to be put in place.
And I believe to an extent, correct me if I'm wrong, I need to look into this a little bit. I believe I saw somewhere that any of Apple's hardware may be excluded from the tariffs exclusively.
We'll get to that.
Okay, so we're going to get to that.
That's a thing.
It seems like Mark knows a little bit more about that than I do.
And then let's see. There's India, which, again, Apple has been trying to move their production of iPhones to India.
I don't know if that actually went through.
Oh, really? I thought it did.
I think it completely caved, because last I remember, I believe the failure rate was that of like 40%.
Holy crap.
They had lost, I think it was hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's pretend I didn't say that.
Because I hadn't, at least recently I hadn't heard anything. We have Melon here saying about President Trump. What is that? Drafts, rafts, pterodactyls. Oh, genuinely asking. Tariffs. We have tariffs.
I think we have tariffs against Indonesia too. It's just not on this
list. We do
list.
have tariffs against Indonesia. So you said, what is that? Drafts, rafts. I think tariffs is what we're talking about. Tariffs. So tariffs are for the trades going on. So generally, every country has their own tariffs to some extent. Some actually don't. Very few don't, and for certain things. So there's tariffs, and it varies. Like on the material, we have like material tariffs for steel and gems and everything like that, and wood coming in from Canada for us. To anything else like electronics. In Canada's case, thankfully this seems to be remaining the same for the most part that we know of. Since a lot of Canada's imports have to come through America, through the United States, our import tariffs going through to Canada are excluded. So Canada will still maintain their same... yes, that is correct. That is correct, Melon. Tariffs.
Yes.
So the Canada's will remain the same. Looking into this, starting tomorrow, and it seems like Trump has doubled down 1 hour ago. From the New York Times here, it says, Trump maintains 104% China tariffs at U.S. Official signal openness to talks. Are
we still streaming?
I assume we're still live. We just had Melon respond. Does it say our bit rate's good?
Yeah, bit rate's fine. We dropped 6% frame, so that's kind of expected. But like,
I'd say we're still online.
Because now I'm getting this.
I had flush DNS. I couldn't tell you how to do that on a Mac.
I definitely can't do that in the middle of a stream.
Oh, you're right, because
I can't
we're kind
do that
of running
in the middle
from
of a
there.
stream.
Yeah, that'd be pretty bad.
Well,
I don't know. Would it only blip us out for a second?
I don't want to try it.
How many bits can we lose before it takes us offline?
Let's not find out. Can you see?
You want me to hit play and just see if we're still running live?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. We're good.
Okay. Well, you're going to be chat czar.
And it looks like it's running great.
So to answer your... Yeah, Melon said it's good.
So it's still going okay. Thank you, Melon.
I appreciate it. To answer your question from earlier about the weird thing about Apple not getting tariffed. Currently, there is no tariff on items that have chips inside of them.
Okay.
Because they're going to get their own tariff soon. So they're not out of the woods.
Yep.
So
that figures.
Oh. Specifically excluded from the tariffs. Oh yeah, we just talked about that. Yeah, they aren't they're excluded from the overarching tariffs. But they are they will be included in future tariffs. Because eventually because technically Nvidia's excluded, AMD's excluded, Intel's excluded currently, because they're going to enact their own set of tariffs on specifically those companies.
I see Melon
single them out for no reason whatsoever.
telling me the video freezes and moves again. We're just going to keep on rolling with it, and I think we'll figure out our network issues maybe by next stream.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you a bit rate's running too high or we're having another issue, but are you at 5K?
We're at, well, I mean, I have it at 5. I can set it to 4, but I don't think that's going to solve the problem.
I think 5K is pretty rock solid. It looks like for us the issue's download, because I don't think you're really uploading much here. Or
I set it to 4.
Set it to 4, and I guess we'll see what happens. How many access points do you have?
Well, there's one right behind you. And there's one next to the I forget what it's called. The thing that takes in the optical. It's not necessarily called a modem. It's something else.
Okay.
I have a power line adapter somewhere in here. I could just hook that up and hardwire us next stream.
Yeah, we'll think about it. We'll get everything more stable by next week, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out. But yeah, Apple's tariffs. I guess that's interesting.
And now I'm back.
Later it moves again. Cool. We're slowly getting back. Man says, like it froze, then 1 second later it moves again.
It's so strange.
We're going to keep rolling with it.
Because last week it was fine.
We'll get it all figured out. We had a blip a little bit last week.
Did we?
Not so much in the stream, but my connection.
Oh, really? I never noticed.
If you remember, my connection was running pretty slow.
I don't remember that.
No, I don't remember. It was pretty late. We were running slow.
Yeah, we were running slow.
Yeah, it was,
we were
midnight,
getting wrecked, dude. I'm so happy we started earlier.
So, yeah, it's much better start earlier. My brain's not as cooked.
No. So, yeah, tariffs. They suck, and it's going to suck for a while.
It's going to be pretty bad. Printers are going to be expensive. Ink is going to be really expensive.
Oh, did you see? This is brand new today, so I don't have a whole lot of sources other than the website.
Probably did not.
The H2D the H2D rose in price by $300.
That I saw. Yep.
Crazy. And apparently the combo was supposed to launch today.
Okay.
And 2 hours before it launched, they had to raise it $300.
Okay.
It's like, well, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like,
that's fair enough.
You can't prepare for something like that.
Definitely can't. There's going to be a lot of prices changing.
Which is going to suck.
And I think one of my questions in here.
I think the YouTube studio specifically decided to take a shit.
Is that what it was?
I think.
Looks like you're rolling pretty smooth now.
There you go. Oh my god. Yeah, I now have chat, and Yanni is no longer the only chat czar.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like things are just gonna go up, and something that is in the back of my mind, and it could just be that I'm like overly worried about it,
right?
Because you know how I get,
right.
Is the fact that Josh said it went up $200, but regardless, you're right, still not great. I thought it was $300. I don't remember the specifics. I just remember reading it this morning while I was on break at work. But the thing that worries me is, so let's say tomorrow, right? Trump is like, all right, tariffs over.
Yep.
What's going to stop the companies from keeping the prices exactly where they are at with tariff pricing? Like that's kind of like my worry is
Right.
they're just going to take it as an opportunity to raise their price just to have it risen.
Right.
And then even after the tariffs go away, they're just going to keep it up there.
Yep.
I have no proof or backing that this will even happen. It's something that like I've been thinking about more and more the more the tariff stuff keeps having fallout.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if it's realistic. I hope it's not. I hope
Right.
everything just goes back to normal whenever tariffs are gone.
I can't see them being gone for a long time because there's going to be, for sure.
Seriously.
I don't think anything's going to really go back to what it used to be, either for the better or for the worse.
Yeah.
Everything's been jumbled up so far now that who knows how things are going to play out in the future. It kind of does. This just kind of rolls into the next bullet here is how will this affect current shopping trends? Are there really any alternatives that we can go to? Because here we have Office Depot, Staples, Walmart, Target, Best Buy. Say if you're looking for a printer, the printer one just keeps ringing in my head.
What, a 3D printer? Oh no,
Yeah,
just a printer in
just
general.
printers.
Okay.
They're paper printers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paper printers, just photo printers, document printers. At the end of the day, if people need a printer, are they just going to bite the bullet and buy it?
Probably.
You know?
If you need one, you need one. Like, you can't... Yeah.
If you have to commute for your job and you don't got buses running at that time and you're making decent money, you know, if cars go up another just $5,000-$10,000 overnight, are you just not going to get a car?
Yeah.
Or are you just going to bite the bullet and deal with it, you know?
Seriously. And, like... I mean, that's really all it is. Like
you can go to a library. Are we going to see more people going to the library? Maybe get more circulation in there.
Yeah.
More money feeding back into the counties and everything like that.
Maybe. Yeah.
Over here, I
For
have
entertainment.
You know, you can go to the library. You can depend on your school, families, friends. You know, hey, can I borrow your printer? Because they're really expensive right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. I mean, everything's going to go up. Especially at 104%. That stinks. That's
actually crazy.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think France has like 100% tax on electronics.
I think you're right.
Being at one point of working retail, specifically in sales, we used to get a lot of French people coming in when they would travel here, and they would explicitly buy.
I can think of them right now in my head.
And they would come in and just buy electronics, just tons of phones. It was back in a time where we didn't really hold computer components, but...
you remember those guys that would come in and you could tell they're just clearly resellers?
Oh,
but they would buy here and then just ship it off back home and resell it for like $300-$400 more overseas.
Yeah, you'd get something $1,200 here that's worth $2,400 US overseas, and they just sell it for, you know, a quarter less.
But they would still make profit.
They make crazy,
it's like, holy
crazy
crap.
profit.
I remember there was one time a manager you and I both like, who's currently no longer there. He had to kick one of them out.
Yep.
Because like it was like day 3 or day 4 in a row he came in buying 5 iPads.
Yep.
It's like no, you can't keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's actually crazy.
It doesn't work that way. But you know, hey, at the end of the day, it's you're doing somebody else a favor, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary. It's what is that? It's like a necessary evil in a way. Money's just kind of making its way around.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the American business gets its money because they're not getting any more for it anyways. And then back at home, he's making a buck for his travels and time spent, I guess, in America. And the other person's ending up with a deal.
Yep.
I remember back with some of my Norwegian friends, they'd always talk about a gathering they would have. It was just a huge electronics fest, like a electronics trade show.
Yeah.
To go in and trade graphics cards and boards and drives and RAM and just anything high dollar that's affected by these sort of taxes. And you know what? They deal with it. They work with it. I guess they got a few advantages over us. They have universal health care. Their cost of living's a lot further down.
Yeah.
But electronics over there are also a little bit more of a luxury because their lifestyles are also completely different. Insanely different. In the United States, we're very, very accustomed to, I guess, chilling out and being pretty lazy by the time we get home versus having
Big,
any sort
fat
of
pig.
crazy plans. Yeah, definitely sharing something there. But yeah, it's
gonna suck.
at 104%. That is practically almost all of our electronics and boards coming out of China, and
China, Taiwan.
he's saying it's going to start tomorrow. So I guess
Is it actually tomorrow?
Yeah, he doubled down. He said Wednesday. If I kick back here,
Holy crap!
Trump maintains 100% China tariffs. Tariffs on China set to rise at least 104%. Rise to 104% on Wednesday.
For some reason, I thought it was going in place in May.
And Trump is claiming it as their Liberation Day.
Okay.
Has announced reciprocal tariffs on about 90 countries, including China and the European Union. Here's the list.
The thing that drives me crazy
Nope.
is that his
Tariff
own
on Wednesday
people
afternoon. Yeah.
told him this was a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's all that keeps bothering me.
And
Is like actual money analyst people are like, yeah, this is not going to be good.
you know, I'm not for or against either party. Really. Trying to remain as neutral as possible because at the end of the day, you know, he's up there, he's running the show. No matter how he made it up there, he's up there now and he's running it. And what I can say is he's busy.
That's
He's
one way to
very
put
busy doing a lot of things.
That's one way
Yeah.
to put it. Yeah.
Whether they're good or bad, who really knows? We're just going to have to wait and see what we're eating. One thing he does prove, though, is if you want to change things, well, you can definitely do that. Again, either for better or for worse. But you can definitely change things. I guess we'll just have to see how it rides out. If this is kicking in, as in the 9th tomorrow, that Wednesday, then next week you guys will definitely know how we're feeling.
Yeah. We're gonna have feelings.
Because I imagine prices are going to change very rapidly.
Skyrocket.
I guess that's the thing. How long is it going to take for these prices to change? We've already got them
Probably
changing.
immediately, dude.
But effectively, if I walk into a Walmart and I want to get a cheap Chinese cable...
Are you watching it finish like I am?
Yeah, we have a print. Oh, you disabled the beeps.
Yeah, I did.
We had a 3D print running right behind the camera. Yeah. I mean, it could be immediate. You know, when I walk into a Walmart and I want a cheap Chinese cable, am I going to see that price doubled now? Am I going to say, man, that's not as cheap as I remember it. Ink. I can't get over ink. Ink is going to be crazy
expensive.
expensive.
It's already crazy expensive.
Yeah, ink is already really expensive. You're talking about for just office jet printers. It's nothing special. They print a little bit faster, and the ink cartridges, I guess, are designed for the faster output, I guess. But man, it's already like, I think $80 for a full combo pack with an XL black. I don't know. I have HP Instant Ink. I pay.
God, you still pay for that?
I pay $1 a month.
Oh my God.
I pay $1 a month.
You disgust me.
Since I've started this, by the way, do you know how much I've actually invested in it? Over the last
No. Oh, you also have a grandfathered plan.
Over the last... No, they changed my price.
Oh, they did?
I pay $1.40 a month.
Okay.
Yeah, I pay $1.40 or $1.60 a month now. It's still within the $1 range. I have probably invested in the last 8 years. I think I've been running it for about 8 years. At least 6 years. I've been running it for sure for the last 6 years. I've invested maybe around $100, and I have received probably $800 worth of ink.
What?
You know, I don't print that much. So I get 15 pages a month, and then plus I roll over.
Yeah.
But because it's such a low amount of pages, it rolls me over for 3 months. So just about every month I have 45 pages to use. I've paid a little over $100, and I have gotten over $800 worth of ink. So I can't complain. I can understand if you do high yield, but to me it makes sense. I hate to give HP any more money as the next guy, but at the end of the day, it really is the cheapest solution.
No one can ever tell me HP is a good company.
Yeah, definitely not a good company.
I hate HP with a passion.
But their instant ink deal, I guess prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. If you don't print a lot at all, it's a phenomenal deal.
You know what HP makes me want to do? Fuck. Drop that piece of popcorn. HP makes me want to go on a nuclear tirade. Nuclear batteries, baby. Let's go to some cool news.
Fun stuff, getting away from the politics.
A Chinese battery maker developed a small coin-sized battery. The battery, oh wow, okay, it's a coin-sized nuclear battery. I did not write this very well. The battery is powered by a radioactive nickel that eventually decays into non-radioactive copper. So that way, when your battery loses charge, you aren't carrying around, I guess, a nuclear radioactive material in your pocket. The battery cell can only output about 100 microwatts and 3 volts of power, which I don't even know if there's anything off the top of my head. Maybe a watch is probably the only thing that can actually be powered off of that. But the cool thing is the battery cell, the charge lasts up to 50 years of use. I think I might have prepared that wrong. The battery itself lasts to 50 years. I don't think the charge does. That's not... I think that's wrong. Sorry, I prepared this, again, also 5 minutes before we started. Currently, the capacity is not strong enough to power any modern devices, so like a smartphone, a smartwatch, etc. The company who developed it, the hope is it will eventually be strong enough to power said devices by combining multiple batteries into one single larger battery to meet the high power demands. I'm envisioning, and don't let me forget about hard drives. Do not let me forget about hard drives, because I have the same mindset about hard drives that I do about this. I'm envisioning that they're just gonna like... I'm thinking like, you know those really sketchy... they're not sketchy batteries, but like you see YouTube videos... Okay, motherfucker.
I'm just adding it to the doc because I'm totally gonna forget. Giant. We're getting to late hours.
It's not even... Oh, I didn't realize it was 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it is.
But anyways, so we get... I'm imagining... You know those YouTube videos where like someone's doing... It's usually some really sketchy project.
Yeah.
Where they take a bunch of the... What are they, 2032s? No, whatever those giant... The ones that would be in like a vape.
18650s.
18650s.
Yeah. Big batteries.
And just like... tack weld them in series.
Yeah.
So that way just one more. I just imagine they would do that, but with these tiny little batteries.
I mean, Teslas.
Yeah, essentially. I also want to know, how soon is this going to be in electric cars? Because one of the cool things is it's extremely resistant highly resistant to extreme conditions. So it has an operating range between negative 60 degrees Celsius and plus 120 degrees Celsius. Don't ask me what that is in Fahrenheit. I just know it's really hot and really cold. As opposed to lithium, which starts to cry when it gets below 40. So EVs can lose range very quickly when it's in cold conditions. So what I want to know is how soon we're going to put this in EVs. Probably 10 years plus, depending on how successful they are.
I'll definitely give it a lot longer, I think.
You think?
Because we were talking about graphene batteries, say 10 years ago. And that's still very much not too much of a thing.
I don't think graphene is as useful as we thought it would be, though. Like, I remember it was this hot shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it ended up being kind of meh.
Yeah.
Like, the coolest property is the fact that it's so strong but so light.
Yep.
I think. I haven't kept up with anything graphene. But the reason I said to bring up hard drives is because what I want to know is why don't we just take a similar idea, take a bunch of M.2s, stick them into a SATA backplane, I guess.
Yeah.
And just keep them keep the same hard drive form factor, but just load it up with solid state drives.
Yeah.
and it's like have a heat sink and dissipate the heat, obviously, but
put little turbo
have
fans on it.
fucking 5 layers of 4. You could probably fit 8 in each layer.
Right.
8 solid state drives times by 5. That's a shit ton of storage in one drive.
That's a ton of storage.
Why do we not have that?
I assume maybe heat.
Heat. I figured heat, and the fact that SATA is a really old standard, and I don't think any drive has been able to hit the full 6 gigabits it's supposed to be able to hit.
Never.
Gigabytes a second, sorry. I don't know if gigabits is correct.
To my knowledge, I don't think ever.
So it's
I guess we got to look into that a little bit. It might depend, I guess, on the package or whatever. Similar to, I guess, sending things over the internet when you start measuring in megabits or gigabits or just bits in general. You can run a speed test. It's like you're getting 600 down or you're getting a gig down, but when you're actually downloading something, you're only downloading it 300 megs down. And I guess, is there a limit? Micro SD Express.
Just stick up shit ton of micro SD cards in
I'm just saying,
in a fucking hard drive enclosure.
That's really tiny, right? That's super small.
1 terabyte times by.
But commercially, I think you can get 20 terabyte M.2s.
Yeah, I know.
Commercially, you can get double-sided. I'm pretty sure 20 terabyte M.2s. So why not just do that in a SATA drive? It's all practically cheap memory to an extent. Why not just do that to a SATA enclosure and just have 20 terabyte SATA drives? Because SATA SSDs are still pretty rock solid, especially for games.
Honestly,
the Switch is only just catching up to that.
I mean, the Steam Deck relied. If you got the 64 gigabyte model,
yeah,
the Steam Deck relied on SD cards.
Yeah,
and what's cool is I assume Valve did some type of hardware trickery or software trickery, because most people, unless you had a timer to time how fast it loaded on memory versus off memory, most people never noticed the difference between running it on an SD card and not.
Bizarre.
I'm sure there's instances where it was slower, but overall, nobody really noticed.
Right.
So it's actually crazy how powerful these SD cards can be.
Right.
For how tiny they are.
SD cards especially. When they said a theoretical maximum, this is back with the LG V20, I think. I think it was one of the first phones to claim that it's going to support up to 2 terabyte micro SD storage because that was the theoretical maximum back then.
That's right. I do remember this now.
We have very slowly climbed our way up to that mark, and it has gone very quick. And sure enough, we're there. You can now go get a 2 terabyte micro SD card.
Mm-hmm.
And not like it's been a thing for like a whole year. I think it was just like recently, realistically this year. We can see what they cost. $180.
Yo!
The SanDisk Extreme.
Oh.
Not to be
Holy.
not to be confused with anything like a. It's not the Express. The Express SD cards, which is what I actually had up earlier. The Lexar 1 terabyte. Lexar got very popular very quick immediately after that Nintendo presentation, expressing that it's going to be micro SD Express only.
Extreme and Express?
And I believe...
Is there a difference?
Yeah, Extreme is SanDisk's, Extreme series. And then micro SD Express is going to be the write speeds up to 600 megs a second.
Oops, I spelled that wrong. What's the difference between Extreme Pro? Is it just a marketing name?
Yeah, because if you look at micro SD Extreme and then look at the read rate,
the Express standard bridges internal and external storage technologies by utilizing the same PCIe and NVMe interface as modern SSDs.
That's bizarre.
Holy shit.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. I never knew. I knew SD cards existed, right? But I never knew they were this cool.
Because I didn't know they were this.
Express would be 4 times faster. That's really.
I never knew this was capable.
And apparently, Extreme Pro or any type of Extreme is just marketing.
Yeah.
It's so it is just Express is all that matters.
It's like Samsung also has like their Extreme Plus or whatever.
Yeah.
All this Extremes, and it's like, yes, 100%. It may write up to double the speed of like your standard micro SDs, being anywhere between I think like 60 to 90 megs. I think writing up to like 180. But again, that's where I was shocked. Was micro SD Express. Man, faster than a SATA solid state. That is insane. Crazy. That's crazy. Which, if you didn't know, hard drives, like spinning disk hard drives, old hard drives, they write up to like 40, 50 megs a second. So when SATA solid states came in using same interface, that was up to 500 megabytes a second. So you're talking about little tiny bit micro SD card now doing what those, those massive in comparison, those massive solid state drives can do just off that little tiny chip. Now sustained, who knows how long it can be sustained. I assume this is going to be during peak times whenever you're like loading a map, whenever it has a very large request.
For sure.
I'm sure it's going to be jumping around, and I hope Nintendo took a very heavy notes and big asterisks all around it and a bunch of circles in all of their notes, and learned a little bit from Asus and the ROG Ally. Yeah, the ROG Ally was a very big mess.
A failure. Not a failure, but terrible.
I knew a couple people that kept swapping out their ROG Allies under warranty,
and then
they kept sending it in for warranty repair because it just kept happening. And I had pitched, hey, why not just up the size of your
internal?
Yeah, your internal storage, and just clone it. And that's where Sabrent came in, and I think they just have a Cronus, and that came in clutch. They just didn't even drive. They didn't even want the SD card anymore because the data's just way faster. But I hope Nintendo takes a note out of that book.
I'm sure they did.
Does not,
because the SD card port is on the bottom, and the exhaust is on the top.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they learned. Well, they learned in the first place. I think Asus just had a dumb idea, and they
probably just didn't think about it too much, to be honest. Yeah. They're like, oh, SD card slot, put it on the top.
Just put it wherever.
Yeah, put it on the top. It's an SD card.
And then on the Ally X, I think it is. They conveniently moved the location and then never admitted fault.
Yeah. They never admitted fault, but they covered it. It's, Asus has a very, strange relation there.
Yeah, Asus is kind of...
If you buy anything Asus, by the way, I only know that this works at Best Buy, but if you buy anything Asus from Best Buy and you punch your serial number in, they can see that that serial number, that lot, was given to Best Buy, and they will practically refuse your warranty. They don't even give you contact options. They tell you to go straight to Best Buy. And one thing I can tell you for sure, Best Buy doesn't do anything with that. So you have to manually find their customer support, being Asus, reach out to them, say you have warranty on the product, and then hope they give you the correct form and link to start an RMA process on that. But I think that's pulling us a little bit off topic here.
Yeah, we went from nukes in our back pockets to Asus RMA.
Yeah, we kind of jumped to SD cards and all that stuff. But I guess kicking back with the battery stuff, I did have this up here. I think the latest thing taking off maybe, which has popped up a lot more in recent time, are sodium-ion batteries.
Yeah.
And it seems to be
Scion.
They are significantly more sustainable. They're way more cost-effective. Since sodium is cheaper, I would hope. Significantly more abundant. And not dependent on the rare use of raw minerals, such as cobalt and nickel.
Sick.
So, a lot of positives there. Again, always around a lot of these battery talks is when. Solid-state batteries also, I'm now seeing this pop up here.
Yeah.
That's also been a thing that's been discussed for years. Is, who's going to adopt it? When are we really going to just dive into it? And I guess holding on the topic of batteries and the lithium-ion batteries, we still don't really have a sustainable, safe process or method to recycling lithium.
No. The safest way, there's only 6 plants that can actually process them.
Yeah. And carefully and very slow.
Yeah. Very slowly, very carefully.
And we have got...
It is a very, very money and time-intensive task.
I think it's safe to say we have tens of millions of vehicles that are EVs.
Oh, yeah.
It's that's a lot of batteries. That's a ton of lithium.
I mean, think of phones.
That's
millions and probably trillions of phones that have lithium batteries.
Tons of lithium.
And lithium is apparently a very rare mineral.
And once it's expended, that's it.
Yeah. Same with petroleum.
There's recycling it. But again, the recycling process is very grim.
And the yields are terrible.
Yeah, not great. So it'd be interesting to see anybody, anytime, please, get onto, get away from lithium. That's been my whole gripe. I'm not an anti-EV guy or anything like that. I'm totally fine with EVs. I think it's a good push, but moreover in EVs, and I think I was kind of happy because I guess it kind of reassured I was in the right headspace here thinking this. Toyota kind of walking back their promise on EVs, saying EVs are not it, and instead they will focus more on hybrids.
The hybrids are
as
awesome.
To not, I guess, dive in deep into that impact.
Because I feel like the whole EV craze. So this is also coming from a person who wants an EV. Let me put it that way. I think the whole EV thing was very much they wanted to take a course correction to help the planet, but they course corrected too hard and was yep, everybody needs to get an EV by, what is it, 2035 I think was the cutoff date.
Yeah, I can't.
Which I'm pretty sure it
It's
stops
going to
now.
be crazy.
But it's what we should have done is just mandated that every new vehicle be made with a hybrid setup.
Yeah.
So that way you get more range, you use less gas, the battery doesn't get used as often.
Yep.
In that car, so you also aren't recycling lithium that often.
And, you know, it's not an entire battery pack on the bottom either,
No.
in this case.
It's only in the back, right? Well,
It depends
on
where
the
they
car.
decide to locate it, but with EVs, I mean, they are very heavy. And it's because of all the batteries.
It's hard to put a fire
with the added weight. Yeah, with the added weight of all the batteries, it you know, more batteries, more weight, less performance, but also more performance. It's a hard trade-off.
Yeah.
Really. And then you got to think about the amount of time it takes to charge, and people are like, "Oh, just charge it at home." But then you got long road trips. Rapid charging only takes X amount of time. Some people just don't have that kind of time. It just varies.
That's the other thing is
our grids also just can't take it. Like
grids can't take it.
I couldn't run it at my house.
But how
when it gets cold, you need a lot of power. It has to be plugged in.
When it takes me 5 minutes to fill up my car,
yeah,
but it takes me an hour to fill up my EV, why would I want to A, charge in the open when it costs more to, and B, wait an entire hour in my car for it to charge to a point where I can go home?
Yeah.
If I'm on a road trip, let's say.
Yep.
It's like there's a lot of downsides to EVs that
and they
I
charge
think
faster now, and I guess they want you to charge in bursts.
they do.
But man, I know exactly what you're saying. You got to plan your trips around it.
Seriously,
you got to count your time for it.
And I don't want to do that.
And hey, for a lot of people, it works. But for a majority of American infrastructure being on 110, 115 volts, man, our grid is not built for something like this at all.
Not at all.
Because what's the difference with just a base EV charger versus you're talking like a day.
Let's see.
If you're talking like just plugging into 110 volt, like a standard, a 15 amp,
and supercharger.
We have
I think
Mark looking it
supercharger
up.
specifically. Supercharger takes about what the fuck in 2024. Long range with an 11.5 kilowatt onboard charger and an 82 kilowatt hour battery pack would take roughly 6.5 hours to charge fully using a level 2 charger, so not even a level 1 charger. 6.5 hours. The Tesla supercharger can charge at 250 kilowatts, which would lower the charging time to approximately 15 to 25 minutes. And that's the Tesla supercharger, which
you would not get in your home.
No, I don't think you can get it in your home.
Yeah, it's not possible to run off a pole anyways. 250,000 watts. That's like what would be running into a neighborhood. Because
which is
talking about a 15 amp circuit. 200. So we look at 220 volts, right? I think their outlets can push out to like. I think it supports like 3,500 watts. I could be wrong.
I think you're right.
Just say 3,500 watts, right? American outlets on a 15 amp circuit is only going to support, 1,800 watts and probably not consistent. You really want it to run maybe 1,500 watts consistent just on that single circuit. 1,500 watts versus 250,000 watts. These cars take a long time to charge if you have to hook them up to a normal outlet in a pinch.
Which that's the other thing is, like most people charge them overnight, which then I feel defeats the whole burst charging thing you were just talking about.
Yeah.
So it's like
you're talking about charging overnight on a private circuit.
On a private
because
circuit.
if it reaches just a little bit too cold, you're like killing your battery slower. Is all you're doing.
Yeah,
You're just slowing down the discharge. Because, again, majority of our infrastructure, all of our infrastructure is based on 110 volts. Yeah, we're not stepping that up anytime soon.
No.
So we're just not built for it.
Not yet. And I don't think we're going to be.
Hybrids.
Because back to the whole fucking tariff thing.
Yeah.
To get the steel and get the lines and get everything we need to build up the infrastructure is now going to cost more because of fucking tariffs.
Yeah. So right out the gate, anyways.
What does he say? So what is more reasonable for an EV? No. So that is more reasonable for an EV. However, inconvenience to have to find a supercharger, especially during long road trips. Definitely plan better to go for a hybrid. Absolutely. I'm kicking myself still that I didn't get the hybrid option for my CRV.
And you know that's the
I should have, dude.
That's the Toyota route. Toyota put their foot down and they're like, "Hey, you know what? We disagree with this statement, and if we have to not sell cars in these states, we just won't sell the cars there."
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Toyota's Toyota. They're going to sell anywhere they want, and people are going to get their Toyotas however they want.
Seriously.
Because they're built well. And the other thing with hybrids, you don't gotta plug them in. You can get the plug-in hybrids, or you can.
Doesn't it just charge itself?
You can expend. If you look at a Honda Insight, right? They're not plug-in hybrids.
Right.
Majority of hybrids aren't plug-in. The plug-in portion is, I guess, bigger boost hybrid to run exclusively off the battery. But I think most hybrids can run exclusively off the battery, and so in a lot of cases, like when you're coasting.
Right.
The engine, you can expend a little bit of your gas to. Oh, gentlemen, behold, corn.
Not the corn.
Oh no.
Cornholio.
We.
I am Cornholio.
What's up, Solar? We. Way off track there.
we got distracted by the corn.
That's our corn. What was I thinking of? I forgot.
You were thinking about corn.
Corn. What are we talking about? We're talking about Tesla hybrids. We're talking about hybrids. It's Joe. Nice.
Lord
Howdy, Joe.
It's Joe Mama.
Joe Mama's Bakery.
Joe and Joe Mama.
That's what we're talking about. The bakery.
Correct.
We going off the hybrids. The one thing I've been wanting to say is with the batteries, you can make these batteries more modular. Already, yeah. And people can bash on China all they want, but the whole entire world is us trying to do the impossible, right? Since like forever.
Right.
And so it is crazy that we can't I find it funny when people are in disbelief when China pulls off like the impossible.
Right.
Like how they'll completely reorganize an entire fab to start pumping out their own chips. And they're like, it's not possible. They did that in 3 days.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean that they can do all the things that we have? But they manufacture it, but they give it to us, right?
Yeah. How is it possible they made those chips? They must be buying it from somewhere else. No.
No, we're beholden to China.
They're capable of doing it because only the entire world has always asked them to do the impossible, and so they've had to cater. So
now they can do the impossible.
Yeah, every single one of their factories, practically, they're built to be reorganized to manufacture anything in any way to any capacity, virtually.
Seriously.
So when we cut them off from getting external chips, they flipped around an entire fab in 3 days.
Hey, let's make a GPU.
They flipped it in 3 days, and they made I think it was an 8 nanometer chip back then.
Yeah.
And they were like, no.
And it really sucked.
The world said that was impossible. It's like, we've asked them to do the impossible forever.
Right.
It's not really impossible. Because they actually just did that. They're built to adapt, to cater to the rest of the planet. And what I was getting around to is they try new things all the time. The one thing that Elon has always said is battery service is supposed to be easy. In my head, this is so stupid. I just do not understand why it's not something that he can do. He's got autonomous rockets, he's got self-landing boosters, but he still cannot make a car that can drive onto a pad, drop your battery pack, and slap a new one on. Why is that a difficult service? That was his vision. He said it, and I think that's just common sense.
Mm-hmm. Because
China's doing it.
Because they wouldn't make money from repairing your car.
And China's doing it as a means to avoid charging.
As a fuck you.
Yeah, but no, but
oh, like old Android phones where you slap the old battery in a charger and then you come home. Just
let me just grab my battery real quick and slap that in.
Days.
That was phenomenal, by the way.
Those are the days.
I missed that. You can get whatever case you want to slap on the back and just make it that much thicker, and you get 4 days of battery. But
those are great.
Aside from that, we're talking about charging cars. They're skipping that. They're going, okay, let's forget about charging cars. How about we just give them charged batteries? You drive over platforms on the road.
Chinese cars just hit different.
They do. They
really,
totally
seriously.
Do. They say, hey, they're like, we don't have the infrastructure to charge all these cars, but we got plants with power running through them, and we can add a lane where people can just drive onto, swap their battery in 30 seconds.
Oh, and the plant is what charges the battery?
The battery just gets put on a belt, and it gets sent off to go charge somewhere else, and then it gets brought on back around in the loop or whatever distribution chain they have, and the batteries are just cycled through.
That's pretty cool.
It's crazy. It is insane.
What is that from? What is that called?
I just saw it recently. I can totally find it.
I guess while you look that up, let me start the Microsoft thing.
Yeah. We'll start on our next topic here.
So Microsoft gives an emergency alert. 240 million Windows users should stop using their PCs, and this is all in quotes. According to Microsoft, according to Windows' latest, the company is advising users to discontinue the use of certain devices and recycle Windows 10 PCs that are unable to upgrade to Windows 11. While there isn't a specific deadline, it's estimated that around 240 million PCs are ineligible for the upgrade. Since these devices cannot be transitioned to a supported operating system, there won't be the usual secondary market for those purchasing new hardware. This situation eliminates potential benefits for charities and other organizations, leaving recycling or disposal as the only options for these machines. For consumers, the Microsoft Extended Security Updates program for Windows 10 costs about costs $30, sorry, for 1 year of security updates, available only for personal use and is not renewable after that. I know from experience, because we're currently talking about this at work, that there are longer options for organizations.
Up to 3 years.
3 years.
Yep.
But we are bypassing that entirely. We're not even gonna
we
are forcing our users to upgrade.
Yeah, you guys are kicking it up to Windows 11, which is awesome.
Not everybody is in their respective buildings, but I'm like, I told my guys, I'm like, everyone's on Windows 11 by the end of the year.
Right.
we are not getting stuck behind on that one.
Yeah.
Ben, were you able to find, I guess before we continue to the topic question?
Yeah, just a quick little input here. It was this was from May of 24. They've been doing it for a little while now. Saying the headline just says how one Chinese EV company made battery swapping work. We have and this is coming from Harvard Business Review. We have when a driver enters their automated station, the station will connect directly to the vehicle. It will drive and park it at the platform. It's all electric. Have the depleted battery be dropped out of the bottom of the vehicle and replaced it. Yep, and replaced it with a fully charged battery while charging the user's account. All within 3 minutes.
Does it say what the company is, though?
So, I guess we can take a peek here.
So I'm just curious what the company is. And why are they not in America yet? Tariffs. Mount St. Michael, is that what it was? How NIO.
NIO. In 2014,
N-I-O.
Series entrepreneur in the auto industry called William Li established NIO as a Chinese domestic brand to challenge Tesla in the higher-end sports car segment. Not long after that, Tesla opened a battery swap demonstration station at Harris Ranch in California. Back to my first point, where Elon had said he wanted to do this. Man, 11 years ago, and we still don't have it.
That's crazy.
And there are how many millions of Teslas on the road? It could have been this easy. It even just to decommission them, right?
Yeah.
Not even for recharging purposes, for servicing or just to decommission them. It just makes sense. It says it was starting in California, starting its exploration in battery swapping, but the site received little to no demand and Tesla closed it down in less than a year.
Are you kidding me?
Unlike Tesla, NIO did not give up on battery swapping. This should have been mandatory, honestly. This should have been part of the process. Part of the design, part of the engineering. I do not understand where they would ever think to make this such a difficult thing to remove. I don't know. You can have it sealed. It just doesn't make any sense. Unlike Tesla, NIO did not give up on battery swapping over the next 8 years. It experimented with and expanded the battery swapping approach across China and Europe. By November 23, NIO owned and operated more than 2,300 battery swapping stations globally, including 30 in Europe. So they're actually significantly larger than I had initially anticipated.
That's crazy.
And back to the original quote that I found right before.
Build a subscription for batteries. I see that headline right there.
Subscription for batteries.
That caught my eyes. I'm like, of course, the fuck.
So what NIO managed to do differently was to invest in creating a seamless experience that could make the practice appealing to customers, and that's when it pulls your car in, parks it, drops your battery, puts a new battery in, and then automatically charges your account.
Which is amazing.
The driver doesn't even need to control or step out of the car. And essentially, it could have been a subscription, right? It could have been a subscription.
I could see it being a subscription still.
Totally. Everything's
if
a subscription.
I was an EV owner...
You got subscriptions for heat seat warmers in your car.
If I was an EV owner, I would probably pay $50 a month for that.
100%.
Because you wouldn't have to pay for any other charging. That is cheaper than me spending...
If you're filling up about once a week on gas, depending on your commute.
$140 a month, I think.
Yeah.
On gas.
Depends how much you fill
that.
up. It's about $30 for a 10-gallon tank. So I think yours is a little bit larger than mine. Yeah. But for my car,
overshot that. I was at $40
I fill up about little. I spent a little bit more than a week, but if you round it to a week, we got about $120 a month.
Yeah. Mine's about $140, $150 a month for gas.
So, if you already have the capacity and the energy running through it, just to swap out batteries all day.
Fuck it.
100% could just totally do that. Even a lot of people, honestly, depending on it, if they math out how much gas they spend, they'd probably be willing to spend up to $100 a month. And say, especially even trucks, versus gas on a truck. Because you're hitting the same mileage anyways, or just chewing through way more gas.
Right.
But battery, once the battery's built, it's built. That's it. The battery costs a little bit more, but the charging time effectively when you're charging at 250,000 watts.
Right.
What's it matter?
Honestly, yeah.
You're talking like $1 or $2 difference that you could totally absorb. So even up to $100 a month if you hit a subscription like that. Say you get 6 refills, and then every refill after that's like $30.
Right.
It's
not bad.
Totally not bad at all.
I guess going back to the Microsoft telling people they can't use their machines anymore.
Yeah.
The extended security updates is kind of cool. I still feel like charging for security updates is stupid. But then again, I also feel like charging for your operating system is also stupid. Because if you're making me pay for my operating system, let me own my fucking operating system. Going back to the conversation we had last week about bypass NRO going away. So what kind of impact can we expect? I think the biggest impact we're going to see is more in two camps. One side is just gonna hold on to them, just like how there's still people holding on to their Windows XP machines.
I think that's gonna be a majority of them, to be honest.
And then the other
just hold it
is gonna be like, well, I can't use this anymore. Let's go ahead and go upgrade. And then they're just gonna throw the old one away, and it's just gonna end up in a landfill. and be useless. And I feel like this leads to an interesting topic about Linux, because a lot of these old machines that are going to be gotten rid of are 7th gen Intel and before, or I think it's 2nd gen Ryzen and before. So these are still very capable machines,
Extremely.
and yet Microsoft's like, "Yep, you're not supported. Sorry." So you're telling me my i9 9700K and 64 gigabytes of RAM can't run the latest operating system?
Nope, too weak.
Like, what?
Too weak.
So, what I think, in my opinion, and I kind of hope Valve's the one doing it, is there should be an option that's trustworthy. Not that Linux isn't trustworthy, but like,
I need something a little bit more user-friendly.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm looking for.
Significantly more user-friendly than
Like,
just any base flavor of Linux.
And just load that on old machines.
And, hey, by all means,
Because if you're just browsing, and you're just going on Facebook, and you're just writing a document or an email, why do you need anything else?
Totally do it all
Seriously.
on Linux. And, I just had a brief thought for a moment there. It'd be great if Windows just had...
technically, you can get SteamOS on it now.
Yeah, S mode aside, why don't they just make a Windows Lite at this point for old devices?
Seriously.
Something that's not very supported, but just for security patches, and just shoot that prompt through. Hey, Windows 10 Full Edition is losing support.
Yeah.
You want to side grade to Windows Lite?
For an extra $50.
And just let it roll.
Just charge them for
it. Because people are going to pay it. I'll be honest. A lot of people, tons of people are going to pay the $30
for some reason
for the extra year of support.
You talking about this? First of all, let me respond to Joe.
Yeah.
SteamOS is coming to desktop soon, and I hope it can't come any sooner. And I'm hoping technically you can install it right now on your desktop.
Yep. It's still very incomplete.
AMD CPU.
Oh, and graphics card.
Technically, Intel should work too, I think.
I know NVIDIA GPUs do not work.
Yeah, now. I think Intel should work. But you should technically be able to install SteamOS right now. There will be some features that don't properly work. And I'm not talking about Bazide. I'm not talking about Chimera OS. I'm talking about, like, you download SteamOS from Steam's website.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is currently possible to load SteamOS on your machine. I forgot what I was going to say. So
I guess I'll pick up from there.
Yep, don't remember.
Given that Steam has basically given the I guess like the part-time developers, the spare-time developers of part-time in quotes again, they're not really getting paid for it aside from donations. Has essentially given the Arch Linux developers a full-time opportunity where they can have a team getting paid to better Arch Linux specifically for their mission to get SteamOS out to the masses, essentially. Hopefully bringing us closer to the year of the Linux desktop, and we can finally push away from Windows and away from Copilot and AI and all this crazy unnecessary stuff, just wasting our processing prowess to our computers. Maybe this will spark side projects once SteamOS becomes a little more stable. I assume Steam will not just drop the developers. No. This seems like it's going to be a very long-term thing. They're going to need a lot of long-term support for their operating system, and it's going to be through the Arch Linux development team. And they're probably going to open up very exclusive positions, I assume, within Steam. to take on some of these developers under the wing to explicitly specifically work only on Steam OS, but hopefully as a side project, open up Arch Linux a little bit, and
It's fun. It's funny you say open up Arch Linux when Arch is like the most open one.
But open it up as in terms of accessibility, making it
easier
really
to use for
make
normal.
it like a contender for Windows. Something
Seriously.
One issue I have with Linux, right? This is going to be really dumb, but it's dumb. It's dumb from both directions. I assume, like any sane person, I use two-finger scrolling on my touchpad on my laptop because it's a laptop. It's meant to be portable. I don't just carry a mouse with me. I do carry a mouse with me, but I'm on a laptop. Like I don't. I have the touchpad. I have two-finger scrolling. It's enabled in Linux. Why can I not adjust my scrolling speed? There are so many things you can do, and I have to set up an automated script, which took me like 8 hours of forums and chatting with ChatGPT and Copilot just to get two angles on it, and like Reddit threads, just everything to try and find out how to make the script work, and just keep it steady because the script I was finding online was not working. This is specifically in Linux Mint. It should not be that hard to control my scrolling speed, but
No.
man, it is practically impossible, because I don't know anyone else who's going to sit there for 8 hours and just try and figure out how to get this to work.
Clearly you.
So as I was saying, I need an answer. You know what? It still doesn't work. I got Linux on this laptop. I'm on Windows right now, and I'm on Windows because my two-finger scrolling is like just hyperspeed for no reason.
Right.
So things like that, it shouldn't be an issue. I have a login issue right now. I guess at some point when I set up Linux, I chose to not have my password on login. So every single freaking app that I open asks for my password every time.
Yeah, I remember having that issue too.
I looked it up real quick. I had about 10 minutes. I spent 10 minutes sweating over trying to get this to work. And through reboots and everything, none of my settings were being saved. So, I don't know. These are very basic things that should not be a problem.
You're using it wrong.
Yeah, I'm using it wrong.
Dang, Melon, you fell asleep on us? What a ass.
Well, he was lurking. I'm sure you fell asleep and you were lurking.
He was listening to us while he was sleeping.
I guess our news isn't exciting enough. Trump raises all tariffs 500% now.
500%. Should we just start screaming into the microphone?
Let's start.
Melon, wake up!
Heavy metal ASMR. But,
Heavy metal ASMR.
Yeah. Arch Linux. I hope everything going on with Steam OS, once they're more settled in with that, they bring to the masses just an absolute Windows beater. I need something out of Linux. I need something out of someone. I need to get away from Windows, and no, not Mac OS. I'm talking about something I can put on my rig.
I could totally put SteamOS on my desktop right now.
Nice. Are we going to stream this? We're going to do it right now?
No.
We're about to pull the camera up to the screen now. We're not doing
Jesus.
This. Not right now. It's too late for something like that.
Yeah, it's time for bed.
So, cool.
Voices are like lullabies. I'm glad, Melon. And yes, osmosis. Our voices provide osmosis.
Osmosis through sleep.
Yes. We are tender voices. Yeah, no, that didn't come out right. Anyways, let's move on before I say anything stupid. Yeah. Well, we're just back at the what products are we currently working on section of the document. This time, Yanni doesn't have a dildo to make.
Yeah. Lost that one.
He
broke my printer.
He lost his dildo.
Girth was too much.
Girth was too much.
Broke the printer. Returned it. Got another one.
Bed fell off.
We're back on track. We got a little bit of a combined project. Mark over here has had an issue with his lawnmower, kind of on and off.
We had the
The starting problem, I guess, was with your deck.
Yeah, we had to replace the blades because my last cut of last year, I ran over a root by accident, troubleshooting a completely different problem, and I just wasn't using my brain.
And it totally destroyed
the blade.
I mean, it was
so
practically sideways. It was smacking grass.
Yeah, it was
It
terrible.
was not cutting it.
So after we did that, we saw that there was a section of the deck that snapped off, and I guess bent at some point. And so basically the new blade was starting to smack into the side of the deck if we had hooked it up. So we called a buddy of ours, and he was able to weld it and bend the metal back into place using heat to properly put it back in place instead of damaging the metal while bending it back. So that was done, and so we went to go test it Saturday, I think it was, and started up fine. Got a good mow, got a good few lines out of it, but we were having a party, so I went back around and something had happened, so I turned the mower off. I turned it back on to move it, and then it just starts to crank and crank and crank and crank. And then we're all just like looking. It's like, all right, what's going to happen? Is it going to turn on? It's like cranks and cranks and cranks, and then the third time I go to crank it, it just starts making this
noise. Was just metal crashing. Terrible. It sounded awful.
And I think one of our friends still has the video of it. I should get him to send that to me. But
but our buddy was crouching down, getting a good lateral view of the mower.
And
he
starter
could see the starter just splitting apart every time he was turning that key.
I got rid of the starter already,
so
I can't go and grab it.
It was crazy.
Terrible.
I don't think I've ever seen a starter blow apart like that.
Yeah. So we had to get a new starter. Put the starter in right before we did this, and I also got a new
spark plug
and air filter. And those three things, the mower purrs. it feels like it's a brand new mower.
So fast.
It did not wait.
That spark plug was so fouled it looked like it had a matte black paint finish.
It did. It was so bad.
It was a good color in a different way.
Yeah.
It looked cool.
It did look cool, but it was not a useful color.
Yeah, it was very incorrect. It was super fouled.
But luckily, the mower runs now. And I will finally get to cut my first cut on Saturday.
We just got to get those shrouds put in for you.
Which I guess that goes into yours.
Yeah. So going into mine. I have. Let's see. I guess going into my things, I've been playing around in SolidWorks, and I was making these shrouds for them. There's these shrouds to keep the belt on track, and I just found out today there's actually another one on the other side missing. I had measured, just took a caliper, measured it up, modeled the entire thing through SolidWorks, and I had got one printed, and I think we found out the tolerances kind of suck on these. This is not, there's a chance it might maybe work for plastic. I couldn't tell. Almost definitely ABS, I would assume, would be able to take it just fine.
Probably. But I don't know if we want to risk that.
Yeah, definitely not.
Because it's going to heat up, and it's going to gunk up the belt. Anyways, I'll let
potentially.
You sorry.
Yeah. Currently, the metal just kind of hits the pulley. The pulley just kind of grinds right on the metal, and we didn't realize that right away because they had both just rusted off. So I just took it and said, "Oh, well, I'll just make it a little bit wider to avoid something like that," and that definitely did not help.
What about ABS or carbon fiber?
Yeah, so that's what I was saying.
I don't know.
ABS, I think, has a melting point of like for practical use. I think I have 100 C. You're not gonna.
Yeah, but if it's if it's
through
that's
friction.
a lot of friction.
Yeah, it's a ton of friction.
That's a lot of friction.
Because
a lot of power.
That belt's going to be rubbing right on the plastic. I could try and blow it out and kick a few things back, and
or you could just curve that piece, and then a part of the changes that I asked for.
Yeah,
you could just curve the inner walls out just a tiny bit, so that way it still keeps the belt on track and doesn't let it fall out, but it doesn't rub against it.
We could do that.
I still think the idea we came up with is the best idea, so that way we keep the material.
This is why I always
proper.
like multiple heads on my projects, because Mark had brought up the way it's shaped. It's kind of like two flat platforms where it screws down into the deck, and then it has these walls that come up from it, and then a little cover. And the whole point is to just keep the belt on track.
Bring it inside, or is it in your car?
Which is why it's in my car.
Okay.
But it's why it sits so close to the belt or to the pulley, is to not let the pulley or the belt fall off of the pulley, because once you disengage the blades, the cable just flops down.
Yeah.
And I now understand why it's on both sides.
Now that I realize it, I wonder if it only rubs against it when it's engaging.
No, because that pulley doesn't move.
But it has to go slack. It has to go slack at some point. So, to get it engaged, you have to tighten it.
Yeah.
So, I wonder if it only... Like, that's why there's rub marks, but there's not, like... creases in it, I guess,
right.
In the metal. I wonder if it's only when the belt starts moving.
Maybe.
When it loses its slack.
I mean, I can leave the plastic piece with you. I only need the metal piece. But you're going to need two.
Yeah.
And, well, I guess you can't really use that one either. I printed it in PLA to do a test fit.
Yeah.
Which, for those who don't know, PLA is like the weakest plastic you can use. And it's solely like for designs and for things. You don't want to leave it in your car. But for room temperature environments or for like light functional uses, it's totally fine. So I have a model printed in PLA as a test fit. I can still send you the file.
Yeah.
If you want to try it in ABS and just see what happens.
I feel like the feet make the most sense to fix it.
Yeah, Mark had brought up just to take measurements of the parts that rusted off and just make little socks for them to go over.
So that way, like, friction fits in place, essentially.
And you can even dab a little bit of JB Weld or glue or whatever.
Yeah, because I got plenty of epoxy.
Yeah. And just keep it down, because the rest of it's good. It's only at where the bolts connect is where it rusted through.
And I have an idea, actually. Because if you... So I initially thought of a sock where it's like, let's say this is the metal piece.
Yeah.
And then this is the plastic, and it just slides over.
Yep.
What if it was like this instead?
Well, it just sits on top?
It just sits on top, like it's just a clamp piece. And then it just screws through the plastic. So that way there's no... I don't think this functionality is needed for the camera. I think it just needs to sit on top of it instead of...
If it sits on top with all the vibrations, there's a chance it can still slip out. Because the bottom layer is not going to be very thick. The top layer is going to be thick. The bottom layer is going to solely be there just to hold it straight.
Okay.
So it doesn't like slide out either which way. Because
that makes sense.
Some of the sides are really bad.
Yeah.
That second one you showed me
was rough.
It just got completely torn apart.
Very rough, yes.
That one's pretty cooked. So I'll be printing with ABS. Because I think I'm just going to use that.
I've got ABS too.
Yeah. We're finally just going to give that a shot and see what happens. Is that the black spool that you have in there?
Yeah. It's sitting right there. Waiting to be used.
And number 4?
No, it's not. No. It's not in there.
It's in the filament dryer?
No, it's actually in a bag, just chilling down
in
there
a bag.
next to the isopropyl alcohol right there.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Just waiting
cool.
for its purpose. So this will be its purpose.
I have a white
You have a purpose for it.
So I have white ABS. We'll give it a shot with white.
Okay.
I'll print a couple, and then you can print the other couple if you want.
Okay.
But that's most of my thing going on. The other things I have here is called a bento box. I have a Bamboo Lab X1C. So, well, bento box is like an air filtration system that you can 3D print. You add activated carbon chunks in there, and you get another little HEPA filter just to drop fumes and smells and stuff like that. And that just sits inside of it. It has a little turbo fan. I don't know if I really want to deal with this yet. I may or may not. I got a ventilation system that works plenty fine right now, but the better I can filter the air, the better it is.
I think you and Josh need to find a way to upgrade your exhaust fans to Noctua fans.
To Noctua fans,
so
yeah.
it's just dead silent.
Right. I think the issue with the Noctua fans is how much air it actually moves.
Nah.
I think that might be it. I'm not too sure. Maybe. There's probably something out there.
That doesn't matter.
Or maybe like the voltages are the kind of issues.
You're
or something like
overreacting.
that. But, yeah, for the most part, that's it. I got smaller things on here. I want to make my own locking case for Power Beats Pro 2. Nobody's made it yet. It's such a giant case. I hate carrying it around in my
Definitely
pocket.
been looking into that.
Yeah. I have, oh yeah, to get it quieter, I remember Josh told me it was, the P1S, I think. Only the fans.
God
yeah.
damn it, Melon.
Yep, there goes
Melon, me, you are going to make an OnlyFans.
Oh, no, not the Noctua fan.
Okay, me, you, and Joe are going to make an OnlyFans.
Right. OnlyFans, and it's just us, like, advertising. We have, like, completely shirtless, but we have Noctua fans here.
But what about
OnlyFans?
What about Only Dans?
Only
I can call
Dan's.
them right now.
Ooh. We're going to call Dan. It's going to be all about Dan. It's going to be the Dan Show.
The Dan Show.
The Dan Show.
The Dan Show.
Different Dan. Different Dan, different show. Gotta remember they got a Dan.
Ah, fuck.
That would be hilarious.
That would be funny.
We
get a
need
producer, Dan.
to be our producer. That would be gold, yeah.
Not selling any of my melons there.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to.
Oh, I hate you. I hate you so much, Melon.
But, yeah, I think I can mold in SolidWorks Power Beats Pro 2 case, and
I just realized
just
what
make my
Joe
own
said.
case.
It just clicked in my head.
Yeah.
The Noctua fans. God damn it.
Got 'em.
Oh, I've been up too long.
And then, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Just
I don't know.
inside.
I don't even know why I even put that there. That was more like me Googling stuff.
Well, that's fine.
I was having a crisis when I was making
What, trying to add things?
Yeah, when I was doing the name tag and I was building the shroud, I was up till like 3 a.m. I was having like an absolute crisis trying to... It just won't work. It just won't extrude. Why is it not extruded? That was my whole thing. I figured it out. I got it. It makes sense. I didn't click one thing. I messed it all up. I was causing so much stress. It took me an hour how to cut something. It was nuts.
That's the only way to learn is by
Getting
messing
so
up and doing it.
Aggravated, yeah.
Getting so aggravated. That's the way to learn.
Because you never forget. You'll never forget.
No.
So, but thankfully, this whole project has got me back into SolidWorks. So more projects to come. A lot more projects to come.
And I want to... Should I talk about this?
We're going to talk about this?
Joe, if you're still here, you'll appreciate this.
Joe will appreciate this.
I showed this to you last week, and this week's just been too busy. I haven't even tried. So,
this is really cool.
Melon, tell me if you know what this is. And I'm only saying Melon because I think he's the youngest of all of us that are here currently. I think. So tell me if you know what that is, Melon. And I'll let you just...
No one's going to be like, I've seen that in movies.
Yeah, isn't that the save icon? It's actually a floppy disk, but I'm appreciative. So actually, do I have the real thing back here too? I do have the real thing back here. Dude, I love cassette tapes.
The real thing. You gave him the answer.
I do have the real thing. Melon, do you know what this is?
What is that, Melon?
How's it going?
It's Reno.
Waiting for Melon to tell me.
He says, hell yeah, and you. What is it?
What is it? Tell us.
What is it, Melon?
Give us the answer, Melon.
What it be?
While Melon gives us the answer, I came up with an idea. Me and my girlfriend went to a Blind Guardian concert, which Joe knows is my favorite metal band. And Yanni knows too. Or everybody knows. Everybody who knows me personally knows it's my favorite metal band.
A cassette. Josh
Yes.
answered for Melon.
Yes. It is a cassette tape. So we went to go see Blind Guardian back in April last year. It was an amazing concert. It was such a fun time. Oh, Melon, you answered after Josh. You just copied him. It was an amazing time. And so ever since then, I was like, man, this isn't the clean one. And they won't tell. We actually, hold on, I'm not even telling the story right. At the end of the concert, they was like saying their goodbyes, and the guitarist, we were up in the front row. The guitarist, he flicked his guitar pick at me. It literally hit my chest, and then hit the ground, and everybody was just diving for it. And I was like, I'm too fat and too slow. I'm not going to be able to get it in time. So I'm like, well, that's a fucking lost cause. But my girlfriend, without me even realizing it, like, she said she watched it in slow motion go to the ground. She went to it immediately, grabbed it, and then turned around and started walking away. And I didn't know. I had no clue. And she was like, come on. And I was like, what? So we started walking away. And she's like, look, I got it.
And no fuss.
It was so amazing. It was such a wild way to end the night.
It's so funny because I can see her grabbing it too.
Yeah,
she just
like,
grabs it, stiffens up, and she's like, I can just walk away.
That's literally exactly what she did. So ever since then, I've had it on my dresser at home. And it's just like an amazing way to end that night and that experience. So I've wanted to find a way to properly, I guess, display it. So the idea came to me after I had watched a YouTube video of a guy who made a custom cassette tape for Minecraft music. I don't know it off the top of my head, and I won't be able to find it fast enough. But I was like, that's a good idea. So I started recently. I've been too busy. I started like printing out some test prints to see how tall I can make a cassette tape, like, I guess in the to see like if it'll fit in and physically get blocked by something. So I started I just threw the Blind Guardian logo onto a cassette, and just like raised it a little bit. I think it's only raised about 1 millimeter total. So slowly I'm designing a custom Blind Guardian cassette, and I'm learning the tolerances of a cassette tape. And so Yanni talking about his desire to continue to learn SolidWorks. I want to learn Blender so I have an idea of like making there's going to be a cutout in the middle of it, and that's where the pick's going to rest.
Right.
And I think that's what I'm going to do with it. And like there's going to be raised art and lowered art. And I think what I'm going to have to do is just use glue.
Right.
I think it's going to be the only way, because, I mean, you can see this is not great.
Yeah, that is brutal.
And
for some reason,
this one, because I've already had 4 prototypes that have all failed. They keep like just like the finish looks all right on this one, but then like the important parts that hold everything in and screw things in is just awful.
Yeah.
And the tape will get stuck on it, and the tape will start to tear, and it's a whole thing you don't want to deal with. Let me just kind of give an idea. It won't be easy to see that, but I'll try. So like it's not perfect on the inside, and it needs to be smooth. So I might have to print it on its face like it's supposed to be printed.
Right.
And then just add these details with glue. And I really don't want to.
Right.
I could do like pegs, like a peg system.
Right.
But that's about the only other thing I can think of like how to properly get it seated.
Right.
While also trying to make sure it looks good.
Bizarre for sure.
It's a very strange issue.
Because you said you definitely want it to stick out, right?
Yes, I definitely want it to raise and lower.
Yeah.
Because I have about 2 millimeters of thickness to play with.
Because if you considered like just embossing that image in the cassette. We wear name tags at work, and one of the things that I worked on was a name tag. And I managed to get where previously I would print the tag itself, and then I would have the letters print on top. I decided to print face down and have it all just be on the first layer,
Clean one,
and then just build up from there. So that way it's flush, and it's more durable that way too. It holds up longer. Have you considered just doing that? Printing on the face and having it just be really shiny, and just have the logo embedded in the face, similar to how I did my name tag.
I did consider that, but that's not cool.
It's not cool.
That's the only reason. I just want it to be like different, and because the end goal, I don't know if I've told you this part. The end goal is to eventually send it off to them and try and get it signed.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So like I want. Oh, so I did talk about it. So I want it to look better than just like a screen print.
Right.
Like it has to look cooler than a screen print.
Right.
That's the goal. And it just has to be a wild looking cassette tape.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. So I guess that's. Is there anything else you want to chat about?
Not really. I don't think. I think we went over all of our.
I'm gonna say we left no stone
topics
unturned.
pretty well. We're finishing a lot earlier than last time.
Yeah, about an hour earlier.
Yeah.
Next week, hopefully, we'll be able to start even earlier.
I gotta find out what happened with my Google Docs here, because man, that is not center. That is so off kilter, and I don't know what happened.
I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, this is just wrong. But I hit something and it went way off. But
what the fuck?
no idea. It's not centered. It's bugging me, but that's fine. I will work on that some other day.
Alrighty. Well, I appreciate everybody for joining, and thank you for watching. And if you came in early, I appreciate you. If you stayed late, I also appreciate you. And I know Yanni does too. He's just dumbfounded about his Google Chrome problem, or his Google Docs problem.
Yep.
So, we will see you guys again next week. I don't know if we're going to do it live or not live. Oh my God!
We got Craig.
It's Craig-a-Rooney.
What's up, Craig? You caught us right at the end.
Right at the end. All right. Have a good night, guys.